As a school leader, you will be putting forth a lot of collaborative effort into implementing MTSS supports. Understanding the end goal is an impact on all student achievement. Plans should be made prior to implementing regarding how will we know our efforts are working and what processes will we use to make programs or systems better. Before we get into the importance of observing whether or not your school's new systems are implemented as intended, it is important to look at what the implementation research has found to reassure why monitoring implementation and conducting observations is important. The Standish Group in 2000 found that most new projects experience a low success. 28% of projects studied met full success, in other words, a little over a quarter. 49%, almost half of these projects studied, were fully completed, but they were either over budget, over scheduled, or lacked the full scope of the planned functionality. In other words, they didn't realize what they were designed to do. And then almost another quarter, 23% of these projects experienced complete failure, didn't even complete their tasks. So when considering the time, resources, and energy placed in implementing projects like MTSS, it is obvious that it is critical to wholeheartedly monitor and support the system regularly and vigorously. Peter F. Drucker said, "What gets measured gets done." And we know this to be very true, that if we ask somebody to do something and they know that we're going to check, it's more likely to get done. It's human nature. With MTSS, there has to be a lot of different types of checks. One of the checks is the 3 times a year of review of data that is recommended by researchers such as Batch and Shin, that we take this time at a district level, school level, even the department or grade levels to look at the data and talk about what do we see in the data and what could we do to make things better. And by doing it 3 times a year, it gives us time within the same school year to make adjustments for the students that we have now. As discussed in lesson 1.4, a problem-solving process is needed. The whole idea behind gathering data is to do something with data. And so if we have a problem-solving model, there's an assumption that we're going to review the data and then we're going to make adjustments to try to improve the data. The other thing that we need to do is, beyond collecting data, we need to get out and about into the building and we need to conduct walkthroughs. Now, we're not talking about evaluative teacher walkthroughs, we're talking about walkthroughs that are aimed at trying to improve the system. The book Instructional Rounds by Elizabeth City and Richard Elmore is a great resource for looking at how we can bring staff together to go from classroom to classroom and try to gather information about how things are working. So for instance, if we had a reading fluency intervention, is this intervention being conducted with fidelity in all classrooms? And if not, what could we do to help provide more training or support for staff? This model is a lot like what we see in hospitals with physicians who conduct rounds. They talk about different patients, they get different feedback, the types of treatments that patients are receiving. It'd be the same model, but only in the education setting. And the nice thing about using some type of rounds or learning walks, there's a lot of different names, is you're looking at aggregate data. You're looking at data from, say, the 6th grade. How is 6th grade dealing with fluency? Is it adequate? Does it seem to be working? Do people seem to be comfortable? Do people have the resources that they need? And this allows conversation to happen among teachers and professionals to try to improve the system collaboratively. And the best way to do this is to have teachers really run the process. Instead of the principal, the teachers run the process. Then it really is communicated. It's not evaluative. And then as time goes on, include more and more teachers in the process, maybe rotating certain teachers in and out, so that the more people that have the ability to participate, the more open the process seems, the more inviting the process seems, and the more that people can learn from the process. So in thinking about monitoring, thinking about doing walkthroughs, consider these 2 questions. Do you currently have opportunities for staff to visit other teachers' classrooms for observation and coaching purposes? We've talked about these opportunities for many years in education, but sometimes it's very hard to find the resources or the time, the money to fund subs so this can happen. But we're finding, and if you go look at Cities and Elmore's research, that it really is a missing but critical component in improving the quality of instruction. And second, does your school have a climate and culture that is conducive to allowing teachers to attend other classrooms for the observation purposes? In other words, will teachers feel safe in having other teachers in their classroom or even going into other teachers' classrooms? Is there a climate and a culture that cultivates collaboration amongst teachers? Because if there's not, that's something that you'll want to plan for as you decide to pursue this type of action.